And I have some very important information for you about the alerts and the sirens. I know that's one of the big topics since Friday. A lot of people have been asking what happened, why weren't alerts issued early enough, were they issued early enough? During the press conferences over and over, that question was asked, and we heard from state and local officials who said, look, we had no warnings, we didn't know that this was coming, but then the National Weather Service came back out and said, no, we put out plenty of alerts prior to this flood actually happening. So we wanted to really break it down and make it really simple for you to understand. Yesterday, I was talking to Paul. I had questions myself. I don't know much about weather, just like a lot of people. I don't know how some things work. And as he and I were talking, he pointed out some things that were so interesting. And I said, we've got to share this with the public. I just want you guys to see exactly the timeline of everything, what happened on our end here behind the scenes, what happened the morning of the flooding, and just facts, all the facts that we have in front of us, a timeline. We've made that for you so you could see for yourself. As a matter of fact, our meteorologist did a lot of legwork. Our meteorologist, Ryan Shopta, contacted the National Weather Service himself, and he got some questions answered. And meteorologist Paul Morales has been also working on building those timelines. So I want to introduce you to them right now, Ryan and Paul. Ryan, you did a lot of legwork on this. And what did the National Weather Service tell you?
Yeah, so take a look. This is the timeline. So at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:18 specifically, that's when flash flood watches were issued for the entire Hill Country, several counties across central Texas. And then after 6 o'clock, a special discussion was released detailing things like flash flooding likely. Yeah, the night before, the day before is when the trend was really starting to increase and confidence was growing.
It was getting concerning. And that was in the verbiage.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Number one, there's a difference between flash flood watch and flash flood warning. Tell me about that.
Okay, first of all, flash flood watch means that the conditions, it's possible. It's not happening. It's possible. But when a warning is issued, flooding is imminent or occurring.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here, I want to take you through 2 days, right? This is the day before what was said on our air, right, to the public and what was issued out on our websites, etc. And this is the day of the morning when the flood started to come down, the rain started to come down. So can you guys walk us through this real quickly? This is what you said on air about the flood watch, right?
Yeah, matter of fact, the flash flood watch was issued at 1:18. The National Weather Service mentioned up to 7 inches of rain possible, and also rivers flooding a possibility. And then 6:10, that special discussion was released, and then at 1:14 a.m., the first flash flood warning was issued for Kirk County, right, Paul?
So at 6:10, though, at 6:10 on Thursday night, the night before, this is July 3rd, it was said that there are concerning trends, flash flooding likely, rainfall rates higher than 3 inches per hour. This is enough to be on standby and be on alert, especially given the fact that Three weeks ago, we had this flood in San Antonio, and 13 people died in a flash flood. So at that point, I think everybody was already on standby of, hey, anything can happen. Of course, you can never rightfully predict that it could get as bad as it did. Nobody can ever see that, right? You can't predict that.
Well, you're not going to see a statement that comes out and says, hey, there's going to be a 30-foot wall of water and catastrophic
flooding. Not
that far in advance. But when you see flooding is likely and you've got 3-inch rainfall rates per hour or greater, that gets your attention.
And this was what was sent out to the public the day before,
exactly,
on Thursday. Okay, so now take us through July 4th when the rain started to come down.
Yeah, so this is pre-dawn hours, 1:14 a.m., the first warning issued for Kirk County. Now that typically triggers wireless emergency alerts. Now what's concerning is that
it can be a little sketchy.
A little sketchy, in Kirk County, Guadalupe County, maybe towards Gillespie County, the signal can be a little dicey. Now, flash flood communication was ongoing through 2:30 a.m. Matter of fact, the National Weather Service mentioned up to 5 inches of rain had already fallen in Kirk County. That means flash flooding was likely already occurring in
and that's
Kerrville.
at 2:30 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning.
And at that point, the National Weather Service, these are all alerts from the National Weather Service.
Right, exactly.
That were going out to the public.
Yes.
Yeah, and an ongoing communication at 3 to 3:10 a.m. and at 4:03 a.m., an hour later, flooding
hold
emergency.
on. One thing I do want to interject is there was another. They issued the same warning again at 3:35, and I've got that one right here at 3:35. And on that one at 3, actually the one at 1:14 at the bottom it says flash flood damage threat is considerable.
Wow.
And that's 1:14 in the morning.
So the first alert from the National Weather Service was at 1:14 in the morning, and they made it very clear that flash flood damage is considerable.
It's considerable.
Which is a big statement. I mean, when I hear that, I know that there's going to be something going down that's serious. Okay. And so we're looking at 1:14 a.m. was the first alert on July 4th. That should have gone out to everyone.
Yep, and at
To all the officials, to the public, to everyone.
And at 3:35 at the very bottom it says it's important to know where you are relative to streams, rivers, or creeks because they can become killers. Campers and hikers avoid streams and creeks. 3:35.
3:35. So one of the arguments we did hear, they said at that point, is it too dangerous to evacuate people because now you're walking them right to their death as you're evacuating at 3:30. Was it too late at that point to begin evacuations?
Well, I can tell you this, going by the gauges, there was minor flooding at 3 a.m. at Hunt. Kerrville at 3:35, it was still minor, but became moderate at 3:10, and somewhere between 3:30 in the morning and 3:45 in Hunt, it became major.
Over 22, 25 feet in
Yeah,
some areas.
yeah, it started
Right.
getting out of control. I'm going
Right.
to guess here because I don't have the actual gauge, but 3:30.
Yeah.
So let's say, based on what you're saying, what I'm hearing, I think, is that really the evacuations needed to happen between the 1:15 and maybe 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
And
especially with
in
5
order to
inches
get
of
people
rain,
out
yeah.
safely. But at 1:15, this should have been enough, you think, to evacuate people? This kind of warning?
In that part of the state and at 4th of July, probably.
Yeah, at the mouth of the Guadalupe River at the fork. I mean, that's where the river is just going to surge with water.
It was still, but boy, it by 2 o'clock in the morning, it started becoming very apparent.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to take this, all these alerts. The National Weather Service finds out all these things because there are gauges, right, at low water crossing. Can you talk about how that works, that system?
Yeah.
Can we take a look at the river? I know you have a really cool like graph.
Graphic, yeah.
Yeah, this is just kind of a. We'll come back here. It'll show up here in just a second. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got
You
these
come here,
gauges,
yeah.
and you've got the gauge there at the river. This is at Kerrville. There's one at Hunt as well. But you can go back and you can look at where that river was at a specific time. That's where I'm getting these times from. So it was still minor right at 3 a.m., but became moderate. So it went from minor to moderate in Hunt by 3:10 in 10 minutes. So somewhere around 3:30, you're starting to get close to major, and then it hit major, which is 22 feet at 4:05.
So let me ask you this. The graph I'm talking about was the one you showed me yesterday. I like that because you can tell exactly, like this is Thursday, 11 a.m.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the other one you can tell in the middle of the night. Do you have that?
Yeah, no.
You don't have that. Okay, that's okay. So it went from minor to moderate at what time again?
Minor, and now we're talking Hunt. This says Kerrville.
Okay.
But we're talking Hunt. Minor at 3 a.m., moderate at 3:10, and then major flood stage at 4:05.
Major flood stage. What are we talking at here? What are we talking
There
about?
in that
was
part
what?
of the world at 4:05, it's getting extremely serious
Okay,
already.
but we were talking about that. Was it already that 30 feet higher?
No, it was 22.
22 feet
22
at that
feet.
point.
Now this river usually is somewhere around 5.
Okay.
So it went from 5 to 22.
Huge jump.
And-
Huge jump.
In an hour, in less than.
Probably about an hour, 15
Yeah.
minutes, something like that.
Okay.
And then hit the record at 5:10, which was 37.5.
0.5, yeah.
Very quickly, which is that part of it is really what no one could have ever predicted, right? Because you don't know. But all the other warnings in advance should have been enough if you're along the river, and it's known that area has flooded in the past. In 1987,
Oh,
that
it
was a
floods.
massive flood. This is not the only time that it's flooded. It's known to flood.
Well, the Guadalupe River, unfortunately, it will likely do the same thing in the future.
Again, yes, which
Yes.
is why I want to point this out. Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick both said that the state will go ahead and pay for sirens for Kerr County because they did not have sirens. And in the past, apparently, it was talked about by the county commissioners, but they voted down because it was $1 million and it was a lot of money for them. And so now the state is saying, the governor and lieutenant governor are saying, look, maybe it's just the state needs to go ahead and cover the cost of sirens in Kerr County because we never want to see this kind of thing happen again. So that came out of this. There's also a special session coming up July 21st. Governor Abbott said they're going to make this a priority. In that special session, they're going to be talking about what's happening in Kerr County, getting the resources needed, the safety alerts, everything that is needed. As for the actual answer from officials, they said, like just a little while ago, we heard from Kerr County officials who said, look, we're not going to have an answer as to what happened. I mean, I know that people keep pressing them. Reporters are saying, what happened? The community wants to know. We want answers. And they're they're saying we can't answer that at this moment. And this is out of the sheriff's office. Sheriff Latha said it could be weeks, it could be months, really, before we find out, go back and find out what went wrong and what happened. But they are going to try to answer that question, is what they said. They said they're not dodging the questions. They're going to try to answer them later. So, and something else I wanted to bring up in that email in front of you from the National Weather Service, they responded to what the initial press conferences were, which we heard from local and state officials saying, right, we got no warnings, we got nothing. And so this was a response from National Weather Service, and they said they gave plenty of time, as we saw, 201 minutes, right?
I believe so. I don't have that email.
I do.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere around.
Well, not just warnings, but flash flood watches the day
I'll
before.
get it.
So I think that's very important. You know,
Right.
that's preparing the community for localized flooding.
In that part of the world.
I think you might
Yeah.
have my,
No, I
papers.
don't.
Okay.
I don't have that one.
All right.
But in that part of the world, when you see flash flood watch, you'd really need to pay attention.
Absolutely.
You know, but you know, folks, it's 4th of July. It happened on the worst weekend possible.
It did. It did. It happened. A lot of vacationers are in from out of town. A lot. That's why they couldn't put a number on the missing people, because so many people are from out of state or from other parts of the state. They're here, so unless they're registered in a rental or a hotel, then we wouldn't know unless family and friends call in from other parts of the state and the country and say, we're missing our loved one, we can't get a hold of them. They don't know. So yesterday was the first time, and yesterday was Tuesday, and this happened on Friday, was the first time we heard an estimated number of missing people, which is catastrophic, is now at 161 missing people, in addition to the 95 bodies that have already been recovered, in addition to the 5 campers and 1 counselor missing out of Camp Mystic. There are so many people, and sadly, that number could go up as people call and report their missing loved ones. So please do call. If you haven't heard from your family members, let them know that you have a missing loved one. Also, if you found your loved one, call and update them. Let them know you found that person. That way they have an accurate number on the missing.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say about the Guadalupe River, if you've never been there, it's a beautiful river. It's usually clear and just really nice and a great place to be. But it can be a killer.
Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And what we're trying to do right now is really, this has been a very difficult time for everyone in the community.
It's been a heavy time.
We are part of this community.
Yes.
We have all been grieving with all those families and mourning these losses, and in pain with the families that are still waiting on answers. And at the same time, I know accountability is so important, right? And sometimes it's that line of, is this a time to even talk about accountability? Because right now the focus is on finding these missing people, right? But the community is wanting answers, and they are beginning to press for those answers. So what we're trying to do is give you information and let you know that we are thinking about you in the Hill Country, that we are mourning with you, and we're there with you, and still trying to provide you answers in the best way possible, just to inform you. No biases against anyone, but we just want to let you know the information that we have, the facts that we have, and what has gone out. You can go online and do your research and see for yourself the alerts that have gone out on July 3rd and then again on July 4th, and you know, and see exactly, be able to follow this from the beginning, because I know it's a lot of information to take in. So, all right, is there anything else that you guys feel is really important that we haven't covered that the public should know?
We went through all the warnings and the watches the day before, so that was a lot of information. Absolutely.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
just give me the facts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, both of you, thank you very much for your time and for doing, I know, a lot of legwork to try to answer a lot of the concerns. But folks, if you have questions, if you have concerns, reach out to us. We are working for you. We want to give you all the answers that you have, and we want to give you, answer your concerns. So please reach out to us on social media or email us. My name is Sarah Forgani. This is Ryan Shopta. This is Paul Morales. You can find us on social media. You can email us. You'll get to us. I promise you we will do our best to get you some answers. Thank you for your time, and be sure to stay with us for the latest updates. Be sure to download the KENS 5 Plus app. That way you can watch us absolutely for free on your TV and monitor all the situations. Also, the KENS 5 app on your phone. So KENS 5 Plus is free for TV. KENS 5 app is for your phone. Those are great ways to monitor us. We're live streaming every single press conference. We are breaking in regular programming anytime there's an update, so we can keep you informed as things are developing by the hour. Thank you. We'll see you later.